So.
No, and
more about gel coat.
When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Well, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited...
All for a price that will make you...
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
So.
No, and
more about gel coat.
When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Well, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited...
All for a price that will make you...
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
Hi. Hello, guys. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, guys.
How you doing? Not bad. Yourself?
I'm all right. Yeah. Well, we've had some interesting, some very, very interesting last couple of weeks. I think the last time we spoke, I don't think I hadn't done the full trial, had I? I don't think we've spoke since then. Well, the civil case went in a very, very interesting way, and the people won, which I'm pretty sure everybody will be pretty surprised. I was pretty surprised. I believe that what actually happened when the judiciary or the recorder Nolan QC read my scientific evidence, what actually happened, he actually realised that what we were looking at here was a lot larger issue than the council just stating that I was a conspiracy theorist. Because what I'm not, most certainly I'm not, as a conspiracy theorist, and what I actually had and presented to the court was a full set of scientific documentary evidence to show that 5G is not only dangerous, but it's actually a full battlefield weapons target acquiring weapon system. I'm pretty surprised now. Imagine when he looked at the scientific documentary evidence. No doubt he got a bit of a surprise. I think anybody would. But fortunately for us, that's my background. My background is in inventing products that mitigate microwave radiation weapon systems on the battlefield. So when I came across the fact that your 5G operates in a sub-gigahertz range and it's a phased array antenna design, I then realised that what we're looking at was a scanner, basically a battlefield interrogation system operating on the mainland of the UK. It's in Glasgow, Edinburgh. Well, I think the proposal is to put it in Edinburgh, but it's definitely in Glasgow. I know that. It's also in Gateshead. We are a part of an experimental test bed, which is in breach of the Nuremberg Code. Is obviously these microwave radiation signals have been shown in all scientific tests to cause damage to small bodied animals, small rats, small mice, and any sort of experimentation where damage is caused to these smaller animals cannot be experimented on humans, and it cannot be experimented on humans. That's with their full knowledge of what's going on, what's actually happened. Yeah, you don't know. So you don't know, and Glasgow doesn't know, and Gateshead most certainly don't know until I started telling them that they are being experimented on in breach of the Nuremberg Code. So that's a bit of a surprise to most people, because this is illegal and unlawful. That itself is illegal and unlawful, but let's go on a little bit further. The battlefield interrogation system, that's what we're talking about here, 5G, that's what 5G is. 5G is a target acquiring system. It is not, absolutely not, for telecommunications for humans. It's for telecommunications for autonomous vehicles, for your TVs and your UVs. It's not for you. So any human that gets in the way of a signal from a 5G high gain dielectric lens antenna, that's the technicalities of 5G. Brain injury would be the least of your worries, and one of the reasons why troops coming back from battle space suffer neurological disorders, they've actually got a brain injury. So they're rolling out technology across the whole of Great Britain, including Scotland, and even the Shetlands, in Orkney, I believe, where they're putting this LED street lighting, and they call it a control management system. It most certainly is not. That's why there's lights on all over the place. It's not a control management system. It can't control the lights, because that's not what its primary purpose is. Its primary purpose is to kill. Its primary purpose is a weapon system. It's to target, acquire and kill. That's what phased array microwave radiation weaponry actually is built for, and that's what its purpose is, its primary purpose. So, interestingly enough, 2 weeks ago at St Andrews University, the head of MI6 spoke out, unprecedented, about the issues of 5G and 5G technology mainly coming from China. Well, the technology that's rolled out on top of you in Glasgow is from China. The technology, the hardware and the technology we have rolled out on top of us here in Gateshead is from China. So this is what I believe to be a terrorist attack, a planned terrorist attack. In fact, I don't believe it to be, I know it to be. So what's actually happening in the Gateshead area, we've seen a total shutdown of the democratic process, and even though during the civil case where the recorder Nolan QC has directed the council to open up the democratic process and speak to me about the dangers of 5G and debate the issue, they have totally shut in the democratic process. Now, what's quite interesting and gives us a great opportunity, it's too early, because the people who are behind this didn't expect anybody to be able to work out what 5G really is. They want you to believe what the BBC tell you it is. It's for autonomous vehicles. It's for this future high-speed integrated signal system, so you can wear a head-up display system, a virtual reality headset, and get data in real time and all the rest of the bullshit. So they believe it's got something to do with this IoT thing. It is not that. That's just its masquerade. It masquerades as something for that, but it most certainly isn't. What it really is, like I said before, it's a weapon. So we've got this weapon system. I know this sounds absolutely bizarre, absolutely James Bond, fantasy, film, well, the problem is it's real. It's absolutely real, and I have the science and the documentary evidence, and obviously, fortunately for the people of this country, I've got the background to be able to prove everything I say is real. So we've got a real event going on, a real attack going on, a planned attack, a terrorist attack by a foreign power. Now, quite interestingly enough, central government actually took off the Acts of Parliament book was treason. They also took off the genocide, because what 5G will do, it will cause genocide, and it will also be an act of treason. So there's some very, very interesting information there to get so everybody can get themselves exercised. But what I'm going to say to everybody, I haven't rolled back the criminal justice system or the courts and legal and judicial system as yet. So I'm not in Eastern Germany as we speak, even though the people behind this would absolutely love it if we were. So they haven't dismantled the law. Law is most certainly behind us. So what I'm going to say to everybody, read up on Section 3 of the criminal justice system. It is our legal duty to act in law to stop this crime. It's a humanitarian crime. I suggest everybody get their act together and start acting. Unlike the yellow shirts and the yellow vests in France, they're actually fighting, but what they don't know is what they're really fighting against. The information I'm giving out now, I'm telling you what you're fighting against. You are fighting against slavery. You're fighting against the terrorist, the potential and a planned terrorist attack. And you're also fighting against the destruction of your democracy, of your freedom and of your life. So all very, very important issues. I'm sure nobody wants to die. Well, 5G will kill you. So the trick is you must, people have to get organised and they have to start acting in relation to this.
See, just a question for you, Mark. This system, the 5G system, was developed where? In America?
Most certainly it'd be California. Most of the technology came out of, the developments of microwave radiation weapons came out of Germany during the war. Operation Paperclip took a lot of the technologists into California. It's the secret history of Silicon Valley. Anybody can go and have a look at that. But a lot of stuff they don't know. A lot of these weapon systems were actually tested on people in death camps. So certain microwave radiation frequencies were used to sterilise people, were used to harm people. And a lot of those scientists were actually taken off to California to work on similar types of weapon systems. So all those scientists that came out of the death camps, a lot of the scientists who came out of the military, they were all saved. Instead of getting their necks stretched during Nuremberg, and obviously a lot of the camp guards, but they always, obviously the people at the bottom of the pile, because there's always, when anything like this happens, it's always the little guy that has to take the fall. But a lot of the really brains and the clever people behind it, they actually ended up in California. So that's basically where all this weaponry has been developed. So you can understand, over the last, nearly 70 odd year now, of a time frame where this technology has become very, very clever, very, very sophisticated, digitized, and it's a sort of equipment, you need quite a large imagination to be able to understand how sophisticated it is. We're really talking about Star Trek stuff here, by the way, which a lot of people still think it's Star Trek. There's a disconnect between people in science fiction and science fact. But the fact is, some of this weaponry is absolutely out there where you would believe it to be more science fiction than actual science fact. But that doesn't stop it from actually being real. So this weaponry is pretty real. It's been developed in secret for many, many, many years, and it's now being deployed across the UK to kill and to maim, because that's the only thing. These high gain dielectric lens antenna that are being fitted to your street lighting as we speak as a control management system. We've been told this is to target acquire ATV, an autonomous vehicle, and to send a high gain, so basically a beamed microwave radiation signal at that vehicle. Well, I can tell you now, autonomous vehicles are a scam. They're not real. So all this shit coming out of America, it's not real. It's just fantasy. I'll tell you why. If I was to put 5 or 6 autonomous vehicles onto a motorway, the radiation of one would be problematic, because obviously they've got LiDAR, radar systems, they've got signal systems that pump out lots of radiation, and at speed they have to pump out a lot more. But if I had 10 or 20 vehicles on a motorway, the toxicity of the radiation would be so high a human wouldn't be able to live in that environment. They'd die pretty quickly. So you're not going to see 20 or 30 cars on either on a motorway or on a high street. So in Glasgow, in the centre of Glasgow, let's say you had 50 or 60 these proposed autonomous vehicles next to the shops. Well, unfortunately, that radiation is lethal to humans, and it's about the increase, the power density levels. So by the time you had 50 or 60 vehicles on the road, which you would see in any city centre, and each one that can actually look through the urban environment and actually see pretty well across the whole of the city, by the time you had 50 or 60 vehicles in the centre of Glasgow, the toxicity levels would be such that humans wouldn't be able to survive there. So that's what we're talking about. So we know the autonomous vehicle thing is a scam, and it is an excuse, and it is all interlinked with 5G. So the 5G antennas are situated on every single streetlight. They are supposed to be able to track, so the target acquire the vehicle, and they track the high gain dielectric signal to that autonomous vehicle. Anybody can go and have a look at this and check it out. That's the bullshit that you're being told. But that's not what's going to happen.
So
Right.
what we're essentially saying then is that these autonomous cars, anyone who steps inside it and anyone who's in close proximity is basically going to get fried.
It's basically fried. Well, ATVs, the reversing radar on a number of BMW vehicles. BMW have already identified the reversing capability on the current vehicles to affect pacemakers. Been a few incidences of people's pacemakers being affected. So to affect that electrical piece of hardware, you've got to understand how toxic that is to biological structures. So it would damage your eyes, damage your brain function, probably make you pretty nauseous. But obviously, if you're walking past a car and it's reversing in, you're talking about moments. Not really. You're not imbued in the whole radiation sort of field for too long, so you'd recover pretty quickly. So it's not something that we're seeing people collapsing in the streets and falling off their perches as they're walking down the road. However, as you start to increase the autonomous vehicle footprint, and you start to get to your 10s and 20s and 30 vehicles, so you've got vehicles travelling down the road using this type of signal system, you've got vehicles parking using this type of signal system, and the whole autonomous infrastructure, including your 5G that's pumping out of your street lighting, etc. All of a sudden you've created this massive toxic environment. So you're pouring this massive amount of microwave radiation into the environment, and unfortunately there's two things don't mix: radiation energy, microwave radiation energy, and biological structures. So your cells will be damaged, you'll develop cancers, sore eyes, bad heads, cancer, increase your blood pressure, damage your blood-brain barrier, so not very good. And the more you get, the more toxic it's going to be. So, I'm pretty sure at high speed on a motorway, where obviously you've got to lose pretty heavy-duty power density radar systems on a motorway, because obviously you're travelling at speed, it'd be pretty toxic for anybody in a vehicle.
Right, so pretty sure the system has been designed in America for military use, but now, as you're suggesting and you've pointed out with Gateshead Council that we'll come to in a minute, developed in America, but what is the real process in your opinion, Mark? How do you feel, how do you think that these overseas companies are actually selling this product? How do you think they dress it up? I mean, are government officials absolutely oblivious to the dangers? Are they aware of the dangers? And if they're aware of the dangers, are they just rolling it out? Because that would be just not common sense, because their children, their family is going to be getting fried as well. So How do you think that process comes about?
Unfortunately, I think what's actually happened, we've ended up with a lot of people in some very, very high places who are just pretty dumb. Useful idiots, I think that's what they call them. So we've got these useful idiots operating in these very high-powered positions, and what's actually happened, they've been sold through greed or whatever, they've been sold this narrative, and they've actually went for a hook, line and sinker. And obviously the intelligence agencies have been sold the same narrative because it's very good. This stuff's very good for interrogating. It's environment, it's basically spying on you. So they've been sold it as a spying piece of equipment. So your government believe it's got something to do with making money. So normally MPs, I've never met many bright ones, I've met a few, they're pretty dim. And they haven't worked out what it's all about. They just think it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread to make some money. Then you've got the security service who know it's not the best thing since sliced bread, but they believe it's going to be to spy on you. But the real actors behind this whole rollout, they know it's going to kill you, so they know it's going to subdue the population, increase sickness in the population. A lot of people are going to suffer strokes from it. A lot of people are going to suffer dementia from it. And what that is, economic terrorist attack. And then what happens, obviously these governments and local governments and central government are on a lot of debt. That debt's owned by a lot of the international banking community. When the country goes bankrupt, the local authorities go bankrupt, that then allows those international banking cartels to pick up the country for penny in the pound. So, because this is all about money. 5G is not about making money. 5G is economic terrorism. Make no mistake about it. It's dressed up as if it's about making money. It's got nothing to do with making money at all. And the reason why it's got nothing to do with making money at all, it's a weapon system. And I keep going back to that, and people might get bored with it, but I'm going to keep on saying it. It is a weapon system. It is not what the BBC say it is. It's got absolutely nothing to do with, head-up display systems, virtual reality bullshit. The whole thing, the whole narrative is a scam, and it is very, very easily picked away by any technologist who wants to understand about the power density levels of radiation and the toxicity levels. Virtual reality headsets, let's just look at them. Make it quite simple for people. The mobile phone screen that you have is not safe, because it's something I know quite a bit about, optical radiation, because in that space I've actually built and invented a lot of products in this particular space. So your head-up display systems, your virtual reality headsets, your screen on your mobile device, when it's on, is not safe to your eyes. Optical radiation emits at 200, anything under 200 millimeters is dangerous. Alright? So, virtual reality headset, now people have seen them, pretty interesting, pretty bizarre. I've tried them on, by the way, not for very long because I know how dangerous they are, but they are quite an interesting thing to test. But don't wear them for too long, because what I'm going to tell people, that optical radiation is actually focused onto your retina through a retinal display, basically using a magnifying glass to magnify an image off your screen to focus it on the back of your retina. That is a class 1 cancer causing radiation, light radiation and pulse modulated light radiation from your mobile device is a class 1. So you're pouring a class 1 cancer causing radiation, you actually magnify. I mean, I look at these gaming headsets and I see it's absolutely disgusting and shocking to see people selling them or promoting them on the internet. I've just had a word with a mortgage company, to be honest, based in Scotland, who they do commercial mortgages, and they had an advert where they had a load of children with these virtual reality headsets. They're marketing, people think that this is the future. So I rang them up and I said, well, this isn't the future for selling mortgages. This is the future of death. Those children will die. And not only are you promoting it, you're promoting it as if it's safe. The BBC promote these virtual reality headsets as if they're safe, but they used to have sex with children. In fact, I think they've still got a predilection with having sex with children, but now what they want to do is pour optical radiation into these children's eyes and kill them. You think that's quite funny? I don't think it's funny at all. In fact, I think it's absolutely monstrous. And these monsters these criminals need to be brought to book.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, 5G and Gateshead Council. I recently viewed a video. Some fella phoning in to, must have been obviously Gateshead Council, got a lady on the other end of the phone, and he politely asked, what's the deal with the 5G technology, the street lighting, and the lady basically denied any knowledge. Now, that would be complicit in covering up of a crime, of course, but I think she might be doing that because she's just a woman that sits and answers a phone, after all. So there might be a lot of ignorance, and you know yourself, when people start working with a particular company, Mark, after a while they become real protective of that company because it's their gravy train, yeah. So anything negative that comes their way, they're going to offset, deflect, whatever. And that's exactly what happened within that call. Now, do we think that all council employees are trained and geared up to be dealing with these kind of phone calls? It's obviously going to be happening more and more in the future. People are going to become aware, and they're going to be, bringing their council reps to task on this. But the actual people that work in the council buildings, I mean, they're no more clued up than wee Jim that stays down the road 100 yards, So at what point do the people actually start taking this and using it as a tool in order to make their councils and their local governments and the government aware of the frustration that is going to come about? A few weeks back, after our last chat, Mark, I had a look at some figures of councils who were going to be implementing the 5G. They reckon some of these councils, depending on the size of the area of the council, I think the top one, the top figure that I seen was something like £250,000 they expect to save over a yearly basis, yeah. But they're not obviously bringing into play, the future health issues. It's going to be costing money because people are going to become no well. Wee Joe, in 10 years, he's now 15, he's going to be coming home and telling his mum and dad that I don't want to die, I've got cancer. So there's all these health issues, but as you've suggested, they're trying to offset it by, a financial reason or a financial excuse. But ultimately it's going to be killing millions across the globe. Yeah. So where do the council employees fit in? Do you think they're just programmed, or are they part of the cover-up?
Well, useful idiots at first, but obviously they don't know in the first instance. But where Gateshead Council's employees have got a bit of a problem. They know me. They watch my videos. Anybody who watches my videos knows, because I'm not making this up, and I can scientifically prove everything, because I'm not one of the ones I don't do this whole conspiracy theory stuff. I always stick to the science. And the reason why I know what's going on, right, is because I also look at the business application of these technologies. And like as you said before, councils are being sold this 5G on the back of them making money. They've been told that they can spy in your home, they can look in your bin, they're going to be able to sell some data that they'll be able to gather from some of the devices in your home. And I've explained that 5G is illegal, and I've explained that the radiation they need to pour into your home to be able to spy on all of your devices is in fact a class 1 cancer causing radiation, and causes increase in stroke, diabetes and a raft of other illnesses. They've basically said to me that that's not the case, and what they've actually used, they've used Public Health England's data. Public Health England's data is flawed. In fact, it's bordering on criminal. Public Health England actually used an organisation called Agnia, right, were actually disbanded in 2016 because of the Dr. Starkey, she wrote a paper on how they had missed all of the published scientific documentary evidence as a cover-up for the rollout of this type of technology. So they were disbanded because what they were saying was an absolute disgrace and absolutely criminal. Because one of the things about science and scientists have to look at all of the body of evidence in relation to a particular issue. And one of the things with all the guidelines that surround this type of radiation emission from either, whether it be a Wi-Fi, your microwave radiation from lots and lots of different systems, the current regulatory guidelines only look at the thermal impact. So basically, as long as the device isn't cooking you, they say that you're safe. Now, the reason why they say that you're safe is because they then do not look at any of the research, any scientific research, at non-thermal levels. And I can tell you now, at 1,000 times less than any thermal impact, there is a significant detrimental biological effect. In fact, this type of radiation is genotoxic and neurotoxic. In all of the scientific documentary papers, the published peer-reviewed papers show this to be, in fact, the case. So we've got a toxic emission being put in people's homes. In fact, if you want to cause or occasion rats to develop diabetes, you just blast them with 2.5 gigahertz signal. It's a 2.5 gigahertz signal that you get from your Wi-Fi in your home. So that's what, that's how ridiculous this whole thing is. Where you've got scientists causing rats to develop diabetes, and it's basically the same system as what you have in your home for your Wi-Fi. And then I've got all these people who are getting diabetes, and you've got the medical community scratching their heads going, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And yes, people are getting larger and fatter, but in all animal studies, when you expose it to microwave radiation, lo and behold, they put extra weight on. So people who are getting a bit chunky, who are looking after their diet and thinking, I can't really understand why I'm not losing any weight, switch your Wi-Fi off. And if you're suffering neurological disorders, there's people in the family suffering mental health issues, switch your Wi-Fi off. We've got 70,000 children in schools self-harming today. This is child abuse. Nobody's talking about it. Absolutely disgraceful, deplorable. And the people who've held back on this, the media, they are implicit in this crime. They are implicated in the crime due to the fact that they have, this science is out there. None of them have reported on it. Obviously there's been a little bit, but there's not been anything near the coverage that should have been put out by the mainstream media on how dangerous this technology is. We've still got organisations like Cancer Research, a criminal cabal, an organisation who still state that your mobile device doesn't give you brain cancer. The National Health Service still tell you that your mobile device won't give you brain cancer. All the scientific research, all of the published peer-reviewed scientific research says it does. The Ramzini Institute, the National Toxicology Program, $24 million, most in-depth of all time, says it does, and they say it doesn't. And they've got no scientific basis for that at all. And that tells me that the people in the NHS are lying for a reason. Cancer Research are lying for a reason. I mean, who would give Cancer Research money? You get people running around the fields raising funds for these criminal organisations who've been corrupted at the very, very core, who are allowing people to get sick and die of cancer, and keeping the real information, either be the treatments, cures or whatever, and not telling you what the cause is. This is absolutely unbelievable. And that's the point of the Save Us Now party. What we want is we want truth. We want the legal system brought back to apply to everybody. We want the law applied, and we want the truth back, because this country, and not just this country, but the West in particular, has been corrupted to the core. And 5G, I believe without shadow of a doubt, it is our time to fight back, because this is the resistance storm. We see it in France with the yellow shirts fighting against this whole globalist It's not a globalist agenda. It's not a left-wing agenda. It's not a right-wing agenda. What we're fighting against is evil. We're fighting against monsters. Because obviously everybody divides everybody. There's rich and poor. Well, guess what? I was in Knightsbridge last week. They've got 5G. So you've got the richest postcodes in the country who have 5G. They didn't know they were being interrogated. They didn't know that somebody actually just put a battlefield interrogation system outside their homes, which will destroy their artworks, will destroy their wine collections. We'll be able to spy on them and see how much gold they've got hidden under that under that mattress. But believe us, this is an attack on all of us, and I'll tell everybody, any human out there who doesn't want to die, you need to get active. You need to wake up. You need to wake your friends up. This is if you're fighting for your life. This is a secret war waged with secret weapons, and it's time to fight back. We are the resistance. Spread this message far and wide. We are the resistance.
Certainly be spreading this podcast stroke video as far and wide as we can. Guys that's listening, you folks that's listening, if anybody wants to call in and actually speak to Mark, ask him a question, just let me know, pop me a message. If we haven't spoken before, if you could give me maybe your Skype contact, or perhaps even a mobile or landline telephone number, I can get you in via that road as well. I received an email today from BT, Mark, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Hi Gary, hello Gary, complete Wi-Fi has arrived, making us the only broadband provider to guarantee a strong Wi-Fi signal in every corner of your home. Is that not frightening? I mean, just in itself, We wanted you to be one of the first to know. It's now available exclusively when you upgrade to Superfast Fibre Plus with complete Wi-Fi. So, we're already getting Wi-Fi in the house, but now they want to totally fry us. What's Superfast Fibre Plus going to do differently than what we've already got? It maybe get you to your location on the internet a split second quicker. Is that what we're saying? Quicker downloads, quicker upload speeds, and it's all getting presented in a package that's safe.
It's not safe, and it was never safe. It was a weapon system. It was a 2.5 gigahertz weapon that was used. Well, it was a 2.5, 4 gig weapon system that was used against the US Embassy in Moscow and killed 3 ambassadors. So let's not kid ourselves that this technology, and obviously that's weaponized, so it's not what's coming out of your Wi-Fi. However, that doesn't stop it being weaponized. And what I'm going to say to people, smart secret militarized armaments and residential technology. That's what SMART stands for. So just remember, every smart device that you have in your home, you are opening yourself potentially to an attack. Now, you may think, well, why would anybody want to attack me? Well, they're already attacking you because they're giving you cancer and you're not getting your pension. This will reduce your life expectancy. Just the fact the soft kill part of this rollout, and what we mean by soft kill is you've never noticed. It's the sort of thing that happens to you without realising that, the cancer that you developed, or the heart attack that you had, the damage to your cellular function, the kidney failure that you have. There's no doubt to somebody else apart from yourself. Yeah, I like to blame people for drinking and smoking. Yeah. I guess this is like smoking and drinking on steroids. Yeah. If you want to die early, just go out and buy BT super duper kill everybody in your house technology, because that's what it is. It's called killer tech for a reason. It will kill you. I mean, these people are absolutely taking the piss. I mean, call it killer tech. I mean, I had to laugh when I did an article on LinkedIn about killer tech. And I normally get about, maybe 10 or 20 people, if that, because LinkedIn's not the best platform. if I put something on Facebook, I can get 600 or 700 shares. But I put this thing on LinkedIn, and obviously a lot of professional people out there don't like the sort of things that I say, and because I'm not an indoctrinated scientist, I'm a little bit better than all that. So I put this article up about killer tech, and I had 4, because you can tell who's viewed it and where they're from. So you can actually see the whole, the whole metrics of who's actually looking at your post. And I always get lots of, because obviously you've been an inventor in this space and I invent a number of quite interesting products. I get quite a lot of people, technologists from around the world, and I'm already linked to a lot of technologists from around the world, from lots of different backgrounds, whether it be military, commercial, or other, all the way from China to California. And this particular, I put this article up that was a bit cheeky. It was a cheeky one in relation to killer tech, and what I basically said was, the killer tech, when's it going to catch up? When's it going to be that many bodies that they kind of bury them? And, the whole thing's going to come out in the public domain. And again, I can't remember, it was quite a while ago. And like I said, I'll normally have, maybe 30 or 40 people who view the post. I had 400, near 500 people that viewed that post. 90% were from Silicon Valley. So the killer tech narrative, make no mistake about it, means something to those people in that particular part of the world. What I'm going to tell you, most of the technology that's coming out of China, the weaponry, was developed in that particular part of the world. So quite an interesting bit of information there. What I'm going to say, because obviously I know you've put out tonight, Gary, about this world being a terrorist attack. This is a terrorist attack. This is an attack on your democracy. This is an attack on your economy. Smart will destroy your economy. It will destroy your democratic process. We've already noticed that, because obviously in Gateshead we've got lots of councillors here, as you said before, Gary, putting down phones on people. These people have the information from me. Unfortunately for them, they cannot claim ignorance, and you can't claim ignorance in law anyway. It's that's just part of the course. You can't claim ignorance as far as the law's concerned. So they won't be able to claim that at all, due to the fact that they have had all of the scientific documentary evidence from me to show that what they have rolled out in the northeast of England is in fact a weapon system. So it's all a little bit interesting what's going on down here, because obviously that's what I've heard. You hear these councillors go, well, it's all a little bit too complicated for me. Well, this isn't too complicated. If the people at the end of this, listening to me tonight can understand this, well, guess what? Councillors can't. They can read. If I send them scientific documentary evidence, are they saying they cannot read it? Because that's what it sounds like to me. So the calls, we have constituents ringing up councils and councillors, and people are putting the phone down on them. In the recent civil case where the council tried to gag me, for obvious reasons now, the fact they've rolled out a Chinese weapon system on top of us, which is illegal, by the way, the recorder, Nolan QC, actually stated in the court that the council had to open up the democratic process. Now, we still haven't seen any of that. I've actually got another threatening letter. In fact, I'm going to do a video in the next few days. Anybody, if you want to see any of the videos, it's called 5G Killer Tech Mark Anthony. Just type that in. I'm going to do a video in the next few days about this outrageous, these executives, these authorities are ruled by the rule of law. For them to actually disregard what was actually said in a court by a recorder. I mean, these recorders are, you've obviously got, you've got judges and district judges, and then your recorders next man up before you hit the High Court. They are pretty powerful people. To ignore The judicial system is contempt. This is an affront to the British judicial system. It's an affront to democracy. It is an affront to the people of this country. What's mostly disgusting, it's not been long since, we were standing at cenotaphs worrying about, men who died for the rule of law, peace and democracy. That's their memory. Just thrown down the toilet by a load of criminals, a lot of people who act supposedly as councillors representing their constituents, putting phones down, whether they've been gagged, whether they've got pictures of them with little children, I'm not really sure, but it's got to be something pretty powerful, because this technology will kill them. So why are they? I'm pretty astounded how not one single councillor in every single one in that gated council have had emails from me to show that this is a humanitarian crime. I've no response from one, not one. Now, if I was a conspiracy theorist and I was just making it up, I could understand that, but a judge in a court case has actually stated quite clearly, I'm technically competent. That means legally qualified. The council wanted the court keep that thing that's crossed up just a conspiracy theorist, and there was no merit in what I was actually stating. However, that wasn't the case. I mean, I'm laughing about it, guys, because it's so outrageously unbelievable. I have to keep nipping myself and have a little bit of a chuckle about this, because it is actually unbelievable. I'm sitting on this conversation, I'm thinking, is this really coming out of my mouth? God, it's just unreal. It's totally unreal. These animals, these monsters, have rolled out a weapon system on top of my countrymen, women and children. They're killing my children, they're sterilising women, and they're killing babies in the womb with a technology that they do not understand. And when I've actually brought this to their attention, they have now run for the hills. Criminals that they are have run for the hills like the Jimmy Savile, the cover-up. It's a bit like Hillsborough, it's like the Jimmy Savile, it's all over again. Let's just cover it up, pretend it's not happening, shut down the hatches, and we'll hope he just goes away. And guess what, I'm not going away.
And we'll worry about it in 10 years' time when we start seeing the effects of it, yeah?
That's seeing the effects now, guys. There's 400 people. We've got 400 people who've died. What we know of in Gateshead due to this rollout. You know how you get trends in death rates and all the rest of it? Well, we've seen a massive increase in stroke, and where they really cause themselves a problem. I wrote to Gateshead Council in 2017, and I stated that I sent them some scientific documentary evidence to show that they'd see an increase in cancer, heart attacks and stroke. They wrote back to me at the time and said that science doesn't apply to Gateshead because we haven't seen any increases in any of those illnesses. In fact, what we've seen is a decrease in heart attack, cancer, deaths, and we've seen a steady rate of stroke. Guess what? They were lying. From near 25% increase in stroke alone. We've had significant increases in heart attacks, and we've had massive increase in cancer deaths. So they were lying. Because they weren't on the same date as what I found, because it was just Public Health England who produced the data, and this was in the 14-16 period. So that tells you what we're up against. We've got people in these organisations who are deliberately setting out to misinform the public. It's miscreants in a public office to try and cover up the crime that they have been involved in. Because rolling out the technology, multi-million pound technology on top of your countrymen, this is open democracy. And open democracy, as parliamentary, from Acts of Parliament state quite clearly, multi-million pound technological rollouts, you've got to inform the public. Does anybody come along and inform the public about the rollout of these LED streetlights? Anybody inform the public about the spying technology, the Chinese spying technology that attached to these LED streetlights? Well, I haven't heard any. The only time I heard of it was when I had neighbours knocking at my door telling them that the technology was making them bleed from the nose.
Hi, mate. Sorry. I was passing a message to someone. You talk about, it's already having effects that we know. You've done your research, the statistics for cancer rates, miscarriage, Alzheimer's, cancer, all these different things, sterilisation of the females, but also sterilisation of the males will be happening as well. Because we do know that the nationally and globally the sperm count is down drastically. And I think the statistics have showed that since about the early 90s, 80s to 90s, late 80s to early 90s, as the sperm count of males started dropping globally. Now, I don't know if you're aware of something called the Georgia Guidestones, Mark. Are you aware of those?
I have heard about it, but what I'll do, guys, I always, one of the things now I've got to be really careful. I've heard lots of agendas and lots of different issues and stories. Very interesting. I don't discount anything, by the way, and I don't ever, I would never say to anybody that can't be correct. What I'm going to say is I always stick to the science, because one of the things, obviously being qualified in a court, I stick to scientific evidence. So I'll always, when I talk about death rates and stuff like that, I can actually show that to be a fact, and I can show it scientifically. And what I don't do, I do know about the Georgia Guidestones, I do know about the predictions, I do know about all the different agendas, but that's not for me. My background is a science background, and I can tell you now, the science is bad enough, right, and is damning enough without even having to, not even get into the whole agenda issue. What I can tell you, 5G is a weapon system. 5G will kill you, it will kill everything you love, it will kill your family, your pets, your life, it will steal your democracy. What I'm pretty sure about, this is an economic terrorist attack, and I believe the people who are behind it know exactly what it is. Obviously, in between them, they are a very, 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 very small few. However, they have orchestrated quite a number of useful idiots in positions of power in, central government and local government who are rolling this technology out. This technology will destroy our economy. It will cause significant increases in dementia, stroke. The economic burden of a person developing stroke, I know quite a lot of people around our near locality now who've developed and had strokes since the technological rollout. A guy there the other day, 45-year-old, massive stroke, lives not far from one of these transmitters. He's now hospitalised. He's not making money, he's not paying tax, he's not driving a car, he's in a bed, he's 24 hour a day care. Catastrophic to him and his family from a personal perspective. But let's think about economics, because I like to think about economics. The people who are putting this technology in to save a couple of pounds on some electricity on an LED street lighting system, because that's what these useful idiots have went hook, line and sinker to save 20 or 30,000 pound a month on an electric bill. That guy's nursing care will be more than that, and he's just one individual. What happens when you've got 5,000 or 6,000 individuals in an area who are all suffering from strokes? And we've seen, like I said, in the gated area, since the rollout of this technology in 2014 to 16, in 2 years, we've seen a near 25% increase in strokes. Stroke is catastrophic for families, but the economic burden will bankrupt the local authority and bankrupt the NHS, and add a burden to the economic ability for the government to pay back the debt to the international bankers. It's quite an interesting one. To the international bankers, right, to develop this currency, because money's really not worth anything, is it? It's just a bit of printed paper.
Well, Here's just a throwaway fact for you, Mark. Last time I checked, which is probably a few years ago now, 2 years ago, the overall cost to produce a £50 note is 28 pence. Yeah. So when you talk about bankers, right, so people go for loans from banks, they get currency, as you suggested, that's worthless, and then when they cannot afford to repay that currency back to the bank comes along and takes the real stuff, you know, the property, the cars.
Yeah. Well, this is what this is all about. If you think about it from a strategic, clever, these people are clever. I mean, I do put myself down as a quite interesting character and quite sharp when it comes to certain things. But the people who've plotted this, I mean, I'm playing catch up with the game that they've actually already orchestrated, right? Which makes it a lot easier. You've got to remember, these people have actually organised this particular thing. This isn't happening by chance, by the way. People aren't developing cancers and dying on the mass by the chance. They're not suffering strokes by this. This has all been orchestrated. I mean, I'll put it into perspective. There's a little estate not far from me. So, we've got these antennas outside my rooms, and they're basically dangerous in the upstairs part of the building. When I'm downstairs, I'm fine. The radiation levels down in the ground floor are not bad at all. But when I go upstairs, they are toxic. There's a small estate not far from me where they're bungalows. Well, guess what? They've put the transmitters. They've got them on smaller light stands, so that the transmitters transmit into their bedrooms in a loop. It's obviously so they can do the radar, so they can do the phase delay into these homes. Now, obviously, that's what the council believe that a spine on you, but I haven't told you. But the people behind it know that the toxicity from the radiation will either give you cancer, stroke, diabetes, but I'll tell you what, you definitely won't get. You won't get your pension. Now, do you know the government's forcing everybody into these work scheme pensions, get your money in for your retirement. I mean, this is just absolutely outrageous. And I'm not saying the government know what's going on, they're just hapless fools. But you know the people who actually provide the pensions, the people who orchestrate the money behind the pensions, they know you're not getting it. They absolutely know you're not getting that pension. Because they've just rolled the technology up on top of you to make sure you're not getting it.
Do you think, now we talk about councils being, concerned with the cover-up, government officials, government ministers, etc. How far do you think that cover-up is extending? Do you think it would go to the local GP, the general practitioners, doctors? Do you think they're aware of it? Because after all, they have a duty of care to their patients. And do you think they're complicit in the knowledge and the cover-up?
I do. Definitely think they're complicit. The reason for that, not complicit in the fact that they know what's going on, really, but complicit in the fact that they've seen significant increases in children having fits. When they roll these LED street lights out, children having fits in their locality. People suffering strokes, people suffering all sorts of maladies, illnesses. In fact, it was in the Lancet last week. That's probably causing a bit of a problem. It was in the Lancet last week about the increase in microwave radiation and the health effects. Any GP worth their salt will know. All you have to do is dig underneath do a little bit of research. The way I've done research, and they'll show that these microwave radiation signals are extremely problematic and will increase lots of different illnesses across a wide range of different social groups in a particular area. So you'll see illnesses, you'll see stroke increase, doesn't matter, where people live, how they live, you'll see these anomalies. Now, obviously GPs are very busy, they get paid an inordinate amount of money for what they do, and a lot of them are off so you don't normally see the same GP. So you know where you used to have this, relationship with your particular doctor. You don't see that anymore. So there's a few things that have happened which is problematic for GPs for them to really give them a fair shot. But I've got no doubt there are a number of GPs out there who know something's not right, who aren't saying anything, and the reason why they're not saying anything, they get themselves over £100,000 a year, and consequently what I call them are gagging salaries. So we used to have GPs on reasonable salaries where people could speak out. If I give you £250,000 a year and you're pretty shit at your job, and you're not going to rock the boat, are you? And I see this with council workers. I mean, my grandfather, he worked with council. He was a foreman on the roads. Pretty responsible job. We had a couple of gangs of guys who used to run. Now, I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather, didn't have, no saying, didn't have a pot to piss in. He used to, go to the pub, typical northeast chap, same as the guys in Scotland. Heavy drinker, so he'd get himself out on a Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, get himself absolutely mortalious. So a few bets in the bed nose. He was always absolutely potless. He never had a nut. Now, living in a council house, they never had anything, never really went away on fancy holidays, never really did anything, didn't have a car, and basically they parked him out, as people did in those days. His job today would attract someone receiving something in the region of 50 or 60,000 a year. You put it in Villa in Spain. Do you know what I mean? So they've changed the whole thing around, right? I mean, in nothing wrong with that. However, if you get to the higher echelons, your chief executives, the chief executive down here is on 160 grand a year. Now, let's say she came across something she was pretty concerned about. Do you think she'd really want to open up a hornet's nest when she's on 160k a year?
Yeah, well, that's the moral dilemma, though, isn't it?
Well, I totally believe that's why they've gagged it. It's why I call them gagging salaries, guys. And that's the issue that we have. We've got a lot of these people who, for some inexplicable reason, you've got councils cutting back services, and you've got the executive branch paying themselves 130, 140, 160. You've got coppers pulling back. They can't afford to put police on the street. You've got chief constables on 250,000 pound a year. This is absolutely deplorable. Public sector workers, there should be a scale of grade 1 to go. There's nobody, not a single person in the public sector should get any more than 3 times the lowest paid in that organisation. No more than 3 times. So if you've got let's say a chief of education or a headmaster, there's a headmaster in a school on 500,000 a year. Yes, he's probably a clever boy, and yes, he runs 3 schools. But 500,000 a year to run as a headmaster for 3 schools. Are these lots having a laugh? And the reason for it, there'll be a reason for it. There'll be something that's going on, and they need to keep that guy gagged. Nobody, absolutely nobody in the public sector should be on more than 3 times the lowest paid. So if you've got people, cleaners, on 15 grand a year, the maximum you should be on 45. 45 should be, the chief executive should be 45 maximum, and then there should be a tear down from there. That is absolutely correct. And what that does, that means that the chief executive, if he wants to get a rise, he knows he's got to make sure the kids on the 15 grand a year have to get their rise for him to get his. Makes perfect, absolute economic sense, because these aren't businesses. These are not private businesses. These are public organisations funded by the taxpayer. And what we've seen We've got people, cleaners, working for Gateshead Council, what, are on 11 grand, and you've got the chief executive on 160 and plus bonuses, and lots of others. Proper gravy train, and this is absolutely clouded their judgment, and you may as well be stuffing that money full of notes. And it's the same as international banking. The banks are exactly the same, where they've been allowed to rape and pillage. Because they're not, the banks don't make money, they're not private companies. Banks most certainly should be classed as public utilities, and all the public utilities should be and they should have always been in the hands of the people, controlled by the people and managed. I remember I worked at BGC, and it was a corporation, British Gas. As a corporation, I worked there for a few years, and the chief, I think it was, what's his name? No, I'm not going to name him anyway. He was on about 150 grand a year or something, as British British Gas, and that was a fabulous salary in those days. Absolutely fabulous, but obviously the guy had a lot of responsibility, ran a massive organisation. And I remember when they privatised. You remember when Sid went all private?
Yeah.
Well, Sid went private, and I think it was a year later, because I was still in there, I refused to take shares. I refused to take any of the shares up on offer. I just didn't believe it. I don't know why you want to buy back what you've already paid for. Great little scam that one was, mine. Absolutely wasn't. What a scam. Sell them back what they've already paid for. I wish I could be in that business. So anyway, they sold it back to the people that had already paid for it instead of giving them it. And I refused to buy any or into it. And the guy, I think it was about a year in on the privatisation, he picked up 2.5 million sterling. So going from a salary of 140, which was absolutely unbelievable at the time, I'm going back quite a few years, it would be about the same as $250,000 a day. He went from that to picking up 2.5 million when they privatised it. And that's what privatisation of monopolies actually caused. And not that I'm not a great believer in the world nationalised system, because I think that in itself has problems, but there are ways to fix it. Yeah, there are ways to fix these things, but monopolies most certainly should be held for the people, by the people, and should be accountable by the people. No ifs, no buts, because they're monopolies, and how would it and why would it be any other way than that? But going back to the 5G thing, because obviously I've digressed quite a bit. 5G is a weapon system. It's going to kill everybody. Everybody that gets on this gas, they must get organised. Now that's the whole reason why we set up the Save Us Now party. It's not to stop 5G. 5G, we've got to stop that sooner as. But the Save Us Now party, we have to get rid of the criminals. Yeah, and what I mean by that, we've got councillors, right, who are sitting there self-serving people who all they're interested in is looking after number one. What we need is a better class of people who are more interested in not just themselves. Nothing wrong with being looking after yourself, but there's something nice about people who want to look after themselves and look after their community as well. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people, because you've got this 5G, you've got this potential 5G rollout in Orkney, you've got it in, all Scotland, Edinburgh. They're talking about rolling it out this year. It'll already be there, by the way. And in Glasgow, make no mistake about it, you guys have got 5G. So you need to get organised and get it stopped. It will kill. It is going to be fully operational by 2021. And God help us. God is going to need to help us, but we are going to win this. Make no mistake about it. We do not lose. Losing is just not an option.
See, the difficult part is there is a lot of people that are fast asleep, Mark. I had a conversation with a man 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And I started off with just a silly conversation about one of these fake cigarettes that people smoke, yeah. And I was telling them about popcorn lung, yeah. He then came back to me and he says, look, I've looked and I've researched into this stuff. On the British Medical Association site, they tell you that it's safe. He says, you sound like a conspiracy theorist, mate. You're a nut job. You know, so this is what we face. We face a proverbial brick wall the entire length of the UK. How to get people woke up, you know.
You don't need them all. You're never gonna wake them all up. Most people are sheep, right? But you don't have to wake the sheep up. You only have to wake up as the 3%, guys, and we are the 3%. We've already woken them up. What we need is we need to coalesce them into a focal point. But like the, if you look at it, if let's say we say 3% of the UK population, it's roughly 2 million people. Yeah. If I put 2 million people on the street, believers, we've got a pretty interesting dynamic there. You understand that? So the numbers aren't as big as what we believe them to be. The rest just come along. If you look at the US revolution, I think it was somewhere in the region about 4 or 5% who actually fought it. It was something like 8% who wanted the revolution, and the rest really just couldn't care less. That's where we're at. Now, we're in a far more important. We're saving humanity. 5G will kill everything. Nobody wants to die. I've never met a human yet who wants to die. I've met some people threatening that they want to die, but I've never met anybody who really wants to die. So consequently, that's what 5G will do. It'll kill you. So therefore, I think it's a no-brainer. It's just about getting the information to the individuals so they understand. And we're starting to see it. Even today I've had 4 conversations with people. I've had 2 meetings with individuals who all don't want to die. When they've had that information passed to them, believers, they've gotten themselves pretty excited about doing something about it. Now that's like a virus. So I've went out, I've spoken to 6 people there today, and I've caused a bit of mayhem. Caused them to think differently, Yeah,
well, I would wholeheartedly agree with you, Mark, that until such times they actually just start coming out to your house and shooting you, this is probably the biggest threat to mankind that we're aware of. We can discuss geoengineering, the chemtrailing of the sky. We can discuss the nasty ingredients that's contained within food, the 85 to 90% of British water that has plastic particles in it, and scientists don't know where it comes from. All those things are important, but ultimately, this is the big tin. This is the
it's the big one. It's the big one. It's the bit that let's put it like this: they've overstretched the mark. 5G is the watershed. 5G is the time to act, and 5G on 4G, 4-gated council, and the people who are behind it, we're 3 years ahead of them. They didn't think anybody on this island was going to work out what 5G was. They didn't. There was a bit of resistance. There's organisations and there's activist groups out there, fortunately for us, who look out for us, who, independent, not the mainstream people I'm talking about, individuals who look at this stuff and research this stuff and have been concerned about 5G. But the problem that they've got, I'm a weapons expert and I know what 5G is, and I'm telling people, and that's where they've really got themselves a problem, because now that I've got the momentum of talking to enough people, and then people have listened to what I've actually had to say. Anybody who doesn't believe me, go and have a look at Brunderman Weapons, because I can point in the right direction. Brunderman was a US research scientist who was funded significantly to develop these weapon systems. He already knew of them, because obviously, like I said before, Operation Paperclip, But what actually they developed a number of these significant weaponry pieces of equipment and basically brought them onto the streets to use. Because obviously before that it was all a little bit, Star Trek. That's what happened. It was more of a Star Trek-y type of thing. So brought them to life. So, that's the problem that we've got. We are, make no mistake about it, we are significant length of time in front of them, right, where we can make a difference. Like I said, 2021, it's interesting. If they pull the date forward, it'll be a mistake. They won't be able to capture what it is that they're after. So we've got at least a couple of years to make as much noise as possible to get this thing stopped. Get it stopped. It's trapped. We're seeing massive increases in interest here, guys. A lot of people are waking up. I think what's happened, because we're telling people that, the sore eyes, the bad heads, the aches, the pains. I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day, and I was telling about how it causes joint pain, shoulder pain. A lot of shoulder pain has been attached to these type of transmitters. I went, hang on a minute. I've been having and he's been to physio and stuff like that, and nobody can tell him what's causing his shoulder pain. Sure enough, he's got all these transmitters outside his room, so consequently he's not a convert. And as long as we keep telling people that the illness and the sickness, the sore eyes, bad heads, I mean, the amount of people are getting bad heads, can't sleep, bad heads, and sore shoulders, sore joints, feeling out of sorts, the sort of thing where, I mean, we've had a massive increase in people from dying in Gateshead from non-communicable diseases, because this radiation actually reduces your immune system. So it doesn't matter what potentially you're going to get. Let's say if you had you have an illness, this will exacerbate it. Children who have leukemia coming home, you would never bring a child back to Gateshead who had leukemia when they were recovering. Their chance of survival would be significantly reduced, because this type of radiation would allow them not to get better. This would aggravate their recovery, and they would die. So all of that data is there, all the scientific data. Anybody with hip replacements, anybody with any metal implants, parts, anybody who has anything like that, the act as an antenna to this type of radiation increases the cancer risk. All the data is there. The science is absolutely on point and is available today to show that this is risky. So what I can't understand is why are councils rolling it out on top of the public, covertly and in secret? Nobody asked you to put LED street lights outside your house, did? Does anybody knock on your door and said, oh, by the way, we're going to change the incandescent, pretty unharmful lighting system for a really dangerous 450 nanometers optical radiation emitter outside of your home? And it's going to cost you a few £1 million, and it'll make sure that it kills you. Nobody's asked you, have they?
That's a favourable deal, isn't it? Really?
Isn't it? you pay and you die. You pay it twice. You pay for the hardware,
yep.
You pay for the pension you're not going to get,
yep.
and then you die.
Yep.
And you pay for your funeral. And guess what? In Gateshead Council have set up their own funeral directors to capitalise on your death.
What is it? They called 5G funeral directors Gateshead?
No, it's called Regent Services. Oh, it's Regent, all right. It's. I mean, honestly, guys, you couldn't make this stuff up.
See, here's the kind of pending question that people would have. I've certainly been informing people about the 5G technology, and they'll say to me, "But is it actually working just now? Because they're telling us it's 2020, and these lights are all lit up." So, my theory would be, if the lights are actually lit up, working, then they're working.
It's on now.
Yeah.
It's on now.
Right,
so don't believe it. Do not believe. Look, they're gonna. It's coming. Absolute, complete, and utter. you may as well think that Jimmy Savile was a saint and he didn't have sex with children. That's about as sensible as that. The 2021, it's on now. They are mapping your home now. They are killing you now. It's called soft kill. The soft kill is the one that you don't know about. The 2021 weapon system, when this weapon system is fully operational, that will kill everything. We've got 3 yet. I suggest everybody get out to kill it and get sorted.
It is a short window of time though, but it is doable. See, here's the thing that maybe some of the listeners are not aware of. I have 5G lighting outside my house. And since about February, March this year or so, I suffered at least 6 seizures. Yeah, I'm 49 years of age. I'm a pretty healthy guy. I'm a smoker, okay, but I'm a pretty healthy guy. I'm never near a doctor. I don't take tablets. I don't take medication of any description. And then suddenly I was having seizures, and it makes you. I'm in a position now, thankfully, that they've stopped. I've not had a seizure for about 3 months now, maybe getting into 4 months. But then you would think to yourself, well, if this is 5G technology that's causing this, then why am I not having seizure after seizure, and then why is my wife not having them, etc. So
it all depends on frequency, guys. I mean, it might have just been a crosswave. I had a friend died in a taxi 20 years ago. I actually had an attack. I was travelling over the top of the West Road in Newcastle, and I was fit, training. I was 25-year-old, and I started having some heart palpitations. I couldn't get my breath. Started, I could feel it, and I could feel my heart really starting to race. Now, on the West Road, there's a hospital. The General Hospital's only, 100 metres away from this particular point. And I said to my brother, he was driving to get us to hospital now having a heart attack. And anyway, we popped in, put the meters on, the sort of thing. So I was actually having a heart attack. You could see it on the screen. Anyway, took blood tests and came back and said, no, you haven't had a heart attack. Now, because of that event, I had to go back to the hospital to see a consultant. When I went back in, I said, well, what was it all about? He went, I just don't know. He says, it happens all the time. He says, there was something happened, but he says, there's absolutely nothing. There's nothing in your blood. You're fit as a fiddle. You've got a heart like an ox. We just don't know. A few years later, in the same area, what I noticed, I was walking up the bank. I had to go and see somebody in that area a few months later, and I was walking up the street, and I looked up, and next to this school was this large telecoms tower. And I looked at it and I thought, well, because obviously my background, I understand about RF, and I knew quite a few issues with radars and things like that. And I just thought, I wonder if that's what it, because we were directly next to that as we drove past. But it can be cross waves. So when my friend died in a taxi, he was only a young lad, 30-year-old at the time. He was actually in a taxi with a girlfriend travelling through Bladen. And he died in the back of the taxi. One of these adult syndrome, unexplained, sort of events. Absolutely nothing wrong with the guy. Nothing that could see post-mortem, nothing that kill him. Anyway, he just died. And what I suggest, what potentially happened, I'm not sure, because obviously we just wouldn't know. I believe it's probably the comms in the taxi. Taxis used to have the radios. So you had the comms in the taxi, you had a mobile device, mobile phones just started to come out, stuff like that, and consequently what had happened, being able to cross wave. Because if you get certain wave frequencies that cross over and you start to get some interference, that could potentially affect your heart in a detrimental way. And if you don't have somebody who can start you up, you know, in sort of like a cancellation wave on your heart signal, and there's all the potential for this. Because this was just totally bizarre, you know, how this guy had died. He was a footballer, fit guy, didn't have anything wrong with him, and he did post-mortem, couldn't find a thing, and he just died in the back of his taxi. And I always thought, you know, because it was strange, because of the event that I had, I did actually have like an event, but never got to the bottom of what really caused it. And I believe it was, got no two ways about it. I'm pretty sure it was a microwave radiation signal that caused it. So, you know, these things happen, and, you know, happen to you guys. It could just be the fact that you may have had a neighbour who had a Wi-Fi system attached to that signal coming in from the mast or whatever, and then you've got a crosswave. You pass through a certain part of the home in that area, whether it be in the bedroom, whether it be downstairs, whether it be a bathroom. All of a sudden you're just in that crosswave, and that's what's affected your heart to get the seizure. So all those things are possible. What people have to understand is, you know, your heart, it's on millivolts, and the millivolts range, you're probably talking 30 or 40 millivolts, and, you know, some of these signals passing through your body, they're passing through your body in the hundreds, 200 and 300 millivolts range, minimum. I mean, we've got millivolts passing through people's bodies in the gates over 4,000 in their bedrooms. Again, brain cancer. The children are bleeding from the nose, they're dying. You know, I mean, I had David Smales, he was a witness, a victim witness. His wife died of a brain cancer, developed a collapse to the party. Everybody thought it was a stroke. She was took home. Everybody still thought it was a stroke. She just deteriorated quite quickly and died. In the post-mortem, she actually had a massive brain cancer, GMB. Now, no GMBs are attributed to this type of microwave radiation. I stated, because I'd said to people in the area, there's a few people around here who've got some very strange cancers, heart cancers, that are attributed to this type of radar, and brain cancers. And I'd said to people, you know, if anybody gets any strange cancers, I've got this case going on. If you want to make a statement, and David suggested it might be something for him. So anyway, he made a victim statement in the court. Unfortunately, 2 days before the court case, David died of a heart attack. I actually measured the radiation in his bedroom. It was about 900 millivolts, and the maximum I can expose you to is 200. One of the things that's pretty interesting, we've measured the radiation levels on a night time, and then increasing them. So at night, when really the radiation should be going down, we're actually seeing significant increases in measurements that were taken at night. That's pretty bizarre, pretty criminal, I would suggest.
Yeah. Well, I think it's time that you know, certainly people for people. I think we're going to spring into action on this one. I've had a few discussions with one or two other people on the site personally, personal discussions, and they're prepared to put some weight behind it. So time to up the ante, as they say. Right, so just to let the listeners know, you know, you've agreed, Mark. I know that we're going to be going over the same information for 3 weeks, but I think it's important enough that we have to do that. We're going to be putting the videos on YouTube, on podcast sections, etc., and try and spread the word out. What I would ask of you, does you or anyone you know already have like a flyer? I know that you passed me the 5G documents, the 5G documents which I've now got on site. But does yourself or anyone who you communicate with already have a flyer up and running that I could be getting a copy of, put it on the site, and we could see? A few years back, we printed off, a whole bunch of us printed off something like 10,000 leaflets, and we hit an entire community, an area, and every house in that area got a leaflet. Yeah. Took us all day from about 10 o'clock in the morning till about 8 o'clock at night, as I recall.
Brilliant, Kaz. Well, the Save, if they go to the Save Us Now part, and the reason for Save Us Now, by the way, is it's to coalesce. It's a bit like the focality of the weapon system. A lot of people like signals, signs, and the Save Us Now part, it's all about the rule of law, because that's all we need. Make no mistake about it, the law is pretty straightforward. Anybody looks at British constitutional law and the legal system, I know people get rubbed up by the legal system all the time. Well, that is just unfortunate. And the fact that the system degrades the poor in relation to people who are rich. But the system itself is absolutely on point. What its issue is, sometimes corrupted. Sometimes you get a dodgy judge. If you look at the system as a legal framework, it's absolutely what we require in this regard, and that is the law in this country, right, is based in around the betterment of mankind. Alright, so the basic legal system, our constitutional laws that have went back thousands of years, are based on the betterment of mankind. So obviously, you know, when Charles I went off and got himself in the Irish army, came back with his head chopped off, that's what the law is based in and around. Alright, what you can't do is attack your own countrymen. The state is most certainly can't attack your own countrymen, because otherwise it can get itself outside of and fall outside of the law that we've allowed it to administer on our behalf against us. So consequently, the law is pretty straightforward. This is a weapon system. I suggest people look at that party as a focal point, nothing other than that. And the reason I say that, we need political cover. I was, I had a load of bother knocking on people's doors. Because of the narrative that we're putting out there, you'll get people who may not like it. People who, in one of the things, being a politician and being part of the political system, that gives you quite a bit of political cover. So you can canvass, you can knock on people's doors. You can't be done for harassment, because obviously you've got political views. It's like being part of the sort of church, some of the church organisations that come around pestering people, knocking on their doors. You can't get arrested, because that is, you've got that cover. So what I suggest to people, before you start canvassing, before you start knocking on people's doors and giving them the word, make sure that you don't get yourself into bother and be part of a political organisation. Also, it gives people colours, signs and symbols. And we always knock those newsletters out, but there's also the artwork and the leaflets, etc., are available on that website. So, and a modicum of the signs. There's lots more signs. I mean, the signs, to be honest, we put some abstracts up, which basically tells you that microwave radiation is not safe. It's all we need, because you've got to remember the precautionary principle. Technologies have to apply what's called the precautionary principle. If there's any hint of harm, biological harm, you can't use them. What's definitely in breach here with this particular type of technology is the Nuremberg Code, because what we can show, the Nuremberg Code, nobody can experiment on a human being without a full knowledge and complicity in that trial. However, if that technology has been shown in any way, shape or form to harm animals in any laboratory experiments, you cannot carry out the experiment. You are in breach of the Nuremberg Code. Because obviously the Nazis used to like to torture people and test stuff on them, and that's the whole purpose of the Nuremberg Code. And people that breached it got their neck stretched. So the Nuremberg Code's most certainly being breached. I'm not suggesting stretching people's necks unless we change the law. What the law currently did is says that what they're actually doing is and would carry severe penalties in relation to the law, like life sentences for these characters. So people fitting these LED streetlights, people fitting these transmitters, once we make them aware, because obviously they can mitigate, there's no defence of law, ignorance, but once we make them aware, then it would make the difference between a manslaughter charge and a murder charge. So obviously the 20 or 30 children that I know that have died in Gateshead, I know that the chief executive should really be charged with murder and not manslaughter, because she has actually had all of the documentary relevant evidence from me to show that that's what this technology will, this radiation from this technology will cause.
Yeah, I was just reading the part of your saveusnow.org site. And just to remind the folks on the chat that the Save Us Now that Mark, the website that he describes is to the right of chat. There's a link there saying Save Us Now. Go and have a look at it, as I'm doing at the moment. I'm seeing, Mark, 5G and LED streetlights as a killer. Tech talks across Great Britain. Okay. So I see that here, confirmed 5G City, Gateshead, London, Cardiff, Belfast, Edinburgh, Manchester, Bristol, Coventry, Glasgow, Hull, Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, Newcastle, Nottingham and Sheffield. One of the questions that was really relayed to me, Mark, was well, this answers it, this page answers it, you know, if you're wanting to set up a venue, you'd be happy to come and chat.
Yeah.
I dare say we could even find you a bed for the night as well, at no cost. Blah, 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 blah. Right, okay, so you're happy to come to maybe Glasgow or something, and if we could arrange a whole bunch of people to be there.
If we get enough people in a room, what I suggest to people, if there's a small number, obviously Skype's quite interesting, and I'm not very good at travelling on public transport, and I always have to be wary of, because obviously the narrative I'm putting out is pretty interesting, and you know, you've got to understand that there's a lot of people out there, and very powerful people who may just not want me to get to the venue. It's if there's a large enough group, that's fine. If there's not a large enough group, I suggest anybody who has one of these large LED, one of these large screens, we can set a Skype call up, and I could come into your living room and chat to a number of people to grow the narrative out. You know what I mean? I've done that before. I've done, in London, Portsmouth, Totnes. I've done a few Skype calls, pretty successful, to be honest. You can put the whole Skype thing on a large TV. That works pretty successfully. So we get a few people in a room. And then obviously, if it needs to be a bigger venue, there's a lot more people. Then obviously, that's more of interest. Where it then makes it worth popping around the country to see people.
Yeah, well, it's more bodies going out and speaking about the subject matter.
It's what it's all about. This is all about. It's about getting the information out. We have the information, obviously, in this nucleus. What we need to do is get it out as best we possibly can. The more people, and it's getting it out. It's speak outwards. Don't speak inwards. I was just talking to a guy today down in Totnes. We've got quite a lot of people in and around that Portsmouth, Southampton, Totnes area. And he said, I need to get together with a few more people down here. And I said, no, you don't. You need to go out and talk to other people, convert other people. You don't need the people who are all, because, the Save Us Now issue, we need people with our postcode, but we're not putting the people together as yet. We'll bring them together once that number's of an interest to me, and those people are being vetted by people that are going to be vetting them, so that we make sure that the whole thing doesn't get pulled down. But I've got some quite interesting ways of doing that. Mind saying that, I don't believe that we have a problem. And I'll tell you why I don't think we have a problem. The security services in relation to this technology, they're on the front line. Because believe you me, when 5G is fully operational, it'll kill all police officers, it'll kill the security service. You don't need a prison officer. You don't need a prison. I can imprison you in your own home. I can control and subdue you in your home with this 5G by 2021. I don't need the security service act and listen to everything you have to say. So if you're an intelligence officer, this thing is going to be fully AI'd. It's got to be for the RFID tag system. I mean, it is unreal. Like I said, the technology, you have to have quite a large imagination to be able to understand what this technology is actually capable of. Fortunately for me, I've got quite a big imagination to invent things, so I know exactly what it is, and I actually have seen some of it in action. So I believe it is pretty interesting stuff.
Sure. Well,
so yeah, I'm up for all that, guys. Whatever it takes to get the story out. Yeah.
We can get at whatever method is doable at the time, but I think we could pretty much guarantee some bodies and seats, absolutely. Right. Well, we've not got a lot of time left, Mark, and I'd like to thank you. I know you said you're going to come on for the next 3 weeks. Maybe perhaps next week we can get someone different to speak with you, because I'm just repeatedly going to come out with the same kind of questions. That's my mindset.
Yeah.
You've got the same information, so we'll see if we can get someone else to interview you next week. Maybe possibly Joan.
Absolutely.
Anyway. Sure.
Yeah, no problem at all, guys. Yeah, whatever, whichever aspect, if we want to talk about the terrorist attack, if we want to talk about the technology, if we want to talk about autonomous cars, we've basically got the whole thing nailed down now. Obviously, on the information that we've been gathering, we've been doing research on this project for quite a number of years. Fortunately for us, we've got organisations like MI6 and people like that starting to sit up and take note. So everybody will have noticed that MI6 have mentioned about the 5G issue. Obviously, we've had a conversation with them. We think there's a number of security and intelligence agencies. Because, everybody talks about these organisations if they're the devil on earth. There are good people in these organisations, but unfortunately, the people that are orchestrating the whole thing maybe are not. But we've got to understand a lot of people join these groups with the best intentions, end up the whole thing ends up with a lot of shit. But they do start with the right intention. Well, I'm hoping that they do. So, there's a lot of people out there, they're very concerned, and so they should be. Their life, their children's lives are at risk. Because like I tell anybody who's in the intelligence community, they're on the front line in relation to this. 5G will take them out first. Any security agency, any military, they are the first to die. Because you don't need them. You've got to remember, this is a globalist. 5G is the G7. It's all the way from China, right the way across Russia, USA. We've got it all over the West, and consequently, why do you need an army? Well, you don't, do you, really?
Lots of questions could be raised. Right, well, we've got a couple of questions for you, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
One from Annie is, who do we contact? Who do we contact to raise awareness of this? Someone, obviously, that seems to be in some form of authority. I would say it'd be your council to start with, MP. What do you think?
MPs, local councils, but do not be surprised if they come back with a complete and utter load of garbage. I've just had a guy from Sheffield contact me today with a local with it's all safe, don't worry about it. What people have to realise, ICIRP, which is the International Body for Non-Ionising Radiation Protection, they state quite clearly, right, that they, go to their website, go and have a look at it. They do not guarantee anything that they say. So the website's pretty explanatory that anything that they say you've got to take with a pinch of salt. Because they're not responsible for it. Anything I say, I'm responsible for it. Make no mistake about it. These people aren't responsible for anything that they say, and the reason for that is because what they're saying is complete and utter garbage. They'll tell you that this technology only has an effect when it's cooking you. That is a fabrication. The science says absolutely the opposite. All the non-thermal biological science for microwave radiation says the opposite. So consequently, it is not true. So this body is used as a whipping boy by your local politicians, even though Professor Paolo Vecchi in 2008, he was the head of ICNIP, said and stated, do not rely on these ICNIP guidelines. Do not use them as a defensive wall for anyone. However, that's unfortunate, that's what our governments are using, because their agenda is completely different to the agenda that we know to be, and that is the law. And the law is pretty straightforward. It is here for the benefit of mankind, not to his detriment. And unfortunately, this technology is most certainly a detriment to all biology and most certainly to mankind. So consequently, there's no laws that would say that it was safe. So most certainly isn't. So don't, go to these people, try and raise awareness with them, but whatever they come back with, don't expect to get the answer you want. I mean, we went through that process. I actually basically told Gates, it counts that this equipment's dangerous, I can prove it's dangerous. Not only is it dangerous, it's illegal and unlawful. It's a weapon system. And they have absolutely and totally just shut in the democratic process, which even makes it more interesting to me, and what led me to believe that there's a terrorist, a terrorist attack, and that's the reason for this technology. So it's not a mistake. Somebody somewhere understands exactly. If I know what it is, there's someone else knows what it is. Might just be one or two people in the world who know what it is, but I most certainly know what it is. They know what it is, and that tells me that they know that it's a terrorist attack. And anybody who facilitates or helps to orchestrate a terrorist attack on their own country is not even a traitor, is a terrorist. So the people who are behind this are terrorists. So your local authorities actually acting as a terrorist organisation. Tell them that. Tell them that from me, and tell them I've got the evidence to show that's exactly what the control management system is capable of. That might get them to change that narrative a bit.
Yeah. How much do you think? How much do you think council tax increases are going to happen? Because they're going to have to include these 5G bills in somewhere.
It's already increased in Gates. It's already increased, and not only that, they're going to increase even more, so that the councils don't go bankrupt. Obviously, with the increase in dementia and stroke, and the amount of sickness and illness, and obviously people when they're sick or they're ill or they're suffering from flu, etc., don't really want to go out and party, don't want to go out and spend money on the shops, don't want to buy a new car, don't even drive a new car. And I mean, if you've had a stroke, you can't drive a car. So there's a massive impact, detrimental economic impact. Councils obviously rely on tax to keep the whole thing good. They're going to see a significant drop in their income, and consequently the debt that they've already spent on this technology that they've been told is going to make them money. Just shows how stupid they are, doesn't it? But I'm not expecting to be clever when it comes to this economics, because I'm not, and I don't expect them to understand the technology, because they don't. But you've got to remember, they have been given all of the documentary evidence. In fact, Public Health England wrote to all councils, warning them of the health effects, the detrimental health effects from LED streetlights. Have any councils stopped rolling it out? I just read last week that Edinburgh Council were rolling out LED streetlights as we speak, even though they've been warned that it's dangerous. Pretty interesting on that.
Yeah.
And that tells me that your local authorities are working to a totally different agenda than your central government. Because for Public Health England to even be able to get out and document to tell people that there's a risk to the LED streetlights, that would have been stopped by central government, and that tells you that the attack has been orchestrated through individuals, common purpose individuals within the executive branches of these councils who are totally out of control.
It's been a while since I heard the term common purpose. glad that that's still been made aware to people. Let me have a wee look at the questions again, Mark. Joan, question for Mark: if we set up an information day in Glasgow? Yeah, that's been confirmed, Joan. We can figure that out and get it set up. We'll see what we can come up with. Ask that one from Annie. Okay, here's one last one from Annie. How do we block 5G? Is there anything we can do?
You can most certainly mitigate the phased array radar. So there's two parts to 5G. You've got a high collimated signal that comes up. There's two parts to the antenna. There's the phased array radar bit, and then you've got the weapons bit. That's the dielectric lens part of the antenna. So the phased array part, so basically the scanner, you can mitigate the scanner radiation. So that's basically what we're suffering currently. There are ways to mitigate that. You can basically put yourself into a Faraday and Michael Faraday cage. However, I suggest to people, fight back. Cut the electric off. If the simplest way to stop radiation emitting into your home, find out where its power source is and cut its power source off, because that stops it in its tracks. Put yourself in a Faraday cage. All you're really doing is acquiescing to what they want. You're imprisoning yourself in your own home. So where you would be safe in your own home in your Faraday cage. I mean, imagine. Let's all put ourselves in Faraday cages and protect ourselves from this attack from all over the thumbs. I mean, that's just poppycock. It's nonsense. Fight back time. It's time for the resistance. I'm on for the fight. I'm not here to protect myself. And anybody telling you, there's lots of bits of stuff out there that will help, will mitigate. But what they most certainly won't do is protect you from the weapons part of the system. The dielectric lens can shoot you, can knock through concrete walls. So, trying to protect yourself from it. There are some mitigators from it, but they are very, very far and few between. I'm not going to tell you here. I don't want people to protect themselves. I want them to resist. I want people to organise themselves and resist the attack. That's like telling people, I'll tell you what, we'll all hide in the trench and we'll just keep our heads down. Well, guess what? This is fight back time.
Yeah, and hope somebody else raises the issue and sorts the problem. This isn't about one individual; it's about collectiveness. My message for people,
it's all about this is about all of us. This is about humanity fighting back. This is, by the way, a massive opportunity, because you've got to remember, these local authorities, these skanks, these monsters, right, that operate in these organisations, right, who are behind this. Right, I'm not talking about the ignorant ones, the ones that just don't know, the stupidity and the fools. I'm talking about the people who actually do know, these monsters. We have to replace them. And where we've caught them, we are 3 years ahead of where they believed we would be. Because by 2021 there'd be that many people getting sick. People that sick, they wouldn't really be bothered, to be honest, guys. And we've got 3 years before we get to that sickness where we can start to fight back. We can fight back now. And I've got no doubt. You only have to look at France. Well, you only have to look at the sort of the dynamic in Egypt. When people just got up off their backside and started to fight back that oppression, and all of a sudden when the whole thing tipped over, unfortunately, it was taken over by, another faction that then ended up in it, so they're back there in the worst position what they were when they started. Arab Spring. So what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen, and that's the whole purpose of Save Us Now. So what you don't want to do, like the French Revolution. I mean, the French Revolution went on for quite a while, and a lot of really good people ended up getting their heads chopped off. What we need to do is get the good people involved with the Save Us Now party, so we're ready and able, so that we don't have that painful chopping the heads off situation that they had during the French Revolution. And we can just replace, we can do like a soft coup. The way they're trying to do the soft kill, well, we can do the soft coup. So we take over, nice and easy. I don't want to see loads of people die on the streets.
No.
But what I don't want to see is people die slowly and in pain and from cancer. It is horrendous.
Yeah.
So let's get it stopped. Let's fight back.
Okay, right. Well, I think you and I will be sharing a few more conversations for by radio stuff, Mark, and we'll get something figured out for north of the border.
Excellent.
I know. See, this would be my message for someone, a man or a woman, that's listening to this podcast or YouTube vid in 3 or 4 months from now. You know, don't rest on your laurels. Go and tell people. Go and do things about it. You know, come if you're watching this on YouTube, you can get the documents from Mark's site, saveusnow.org.uk. That's his name, yeah.
Yeah.
You can also alternatively come to PFP and get the documents there. But do something. Become active. We don't want you out in the street protesting, demonstrating, and getting violent, and creating a military rule that basically the Arab Spring Uprising thing created. We want to do it nice, peaceful, calm, where people are informed and the people who can do things to get things changed. That's what it's about. So
it is exactly what it's about, guys.
Yeah, if we can get enough people clued up, get it, a bit of momentum, get some talks, we'll do our best to get the word out in Scotland, because this is, you know, pretty much the only site in Scotland that deals with these issues. You know, I know there's one or two other sites dotted around, a couple in Ireland, but I'm talking about Scotland based. You know, we need to get this message out, folks. Our children, us, future offspring, generations to come, we know the road it's going. We're all aware of the Georgia Guidestones. This is just part of the ingredients of 2030, Agenda 21 it used to be called, it's now Agenda 2030.
Well, they've pushed it out because they can't get the smart meters in. The smart meters are part of the kill grid, and you know, so there's a little bit of a delay on it. But I can tell you now, the weapon system's in play now. It's called soft kill. It's already reducing the life expectancy and population count. So the weapon system's most certainly in play. It's not fully operational, and by 2021 it will be. So it's actually on now. Don't believe the mainstream bullshit narrative that they're not. It's not. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's not coming. It's here. It's actually here. So where they've really, where the opportunity is, the fact that they have put this technology out on top of you without any environmental impact analysis, without any health impact analysis, all parliamentary acts of law that your local authority have breached, that your councillors have waved through multi-million-pound projects without any public consultation in breach of parliamentary laws, acts of parliament, European directives, etc. They've broken the law. They've broken the law, rolling this technology out on top of you. And the reason why they did that was because it would have never passed at muster. It would have never passed any of those, let's say, tests. If you looked at the health environmental impact analysis, the LED streetlights would fail, because AMA, American Medical Association, have shown how they fail. The French Environmental Protection Agency have shown how they fail, so they would fail here. Anybody that looked, and it would be too difficult for them to be able to cover it up. So they've rolled this stuff out on top of you. It's your local authority that are responsible for that, so that's where the blame lies. Central government haven't changed the law to say that they haven't got to carry out the obligatory public consultation or the health impact analysis or the environmental impact analysis. So it's not central government. What's actually happened, you've got these common purpose lot, sitting executives in these councils, ruling the roost, corrupting councillors, right? So whether it's photographs of them with little children, or there's been somebody took some money off the table, or somebody's had plant permission, or whatever their predilection is, whether it's greed, sex, or whatever that corrupted thing is, they have been corrupted and orchestrated by these executives in these councils to turn a blind eye to the law. So they're almost certainly responsible. Now what's really interesting there, it's not central government that's behind this. I'm not saying central government aren't stupid and have allowed it, like the LED street lighting system, and have also helped to fund some of these projects. They have. It's your local authority that's let you down, it's your local councillors, it's the people that live along the street from you who have let you down. They are the ones that need to be held to account. That doesn't mean to say we're not going to hold higher up to account, but that's where we're going to start.
Yep. And on that note, folks, I think that would be a good place to end this show. I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to have Mark back for the next 2 weeks, thankfully, and we'll see if we can start organising something to get happening up in Scotland. Don't forget, folks, tune in to Ouija show tomorrow night. Thanks for tuning in. saveusnow.org.uk is Mark's site. And of course you're listening to peopleforpeopleradio.ning.com. Mark, it's been a pleasure, and we'll chat again real soon, mate.
Alright, thanks guys. Cheers. Thanks everybody.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for listening. We're going to play out now with the thing here. Thanks. Good night.
Also.
Now on the
More about gel coat.
When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Oh, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited.
All for a price that will make you...
You're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.